We are in different time zones. I can see in front of me, Sudan, UK, of course, Bahrain, Uganda, Egypt, Morocco, Libya. So it's quite a large diversity of people here I can see in front of me, plus those who are watching us. Now, the call for this conference, this is not the first conference we have organized on the future of higher education in the Middle East and North Africa. And just to start with, defining the Middle East and North Africa has always been a very difficult task, even for the World Bank. What constitutes the Middle East and North Africa, even with all international organizations, you can see they are struggling to put a boundaries for this region. But for us, we try to be as inclusive as possible, going all the way on all North Africa, which include Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, all the way to Mauritius, and also, Mauritania. And then in the Middle East, we have countries as down in Africa up to Sudan. But generally speaking, we have tried our best to get as many perspectives on this conference from different parts of the Middle East and North Africa. The Middle East and North Africa has been always in the news for different reasons. Many people, they argue this region holds the world's largest reservoir of oil, which is true in Saudi Arabia, in Libya itself, in Kuwait, in Qatar, in United Arab Emirates, and so on and so forth. And also the region still holds one of the global, if you like, I hope it will soon become not a conflict, but one of the global political conflict still exists in this region, which is the Israeli-Palestinian historical, if you like, dispute, whatever the way we use that word for it. I hope it will soon does not become a conflict or it will become a history in the past where we all live in peace and harmony. But also the region has always been the center focus for what we call it transformation of those economies from oil-based to knowledge-based. And this is what we have been doing for the last 10 years. We started this institute back in 2011-12, and we're going to our 10 years now. And the main objective of this institute, the Middle Eastern Knowledge Economy Institute, is to help countries transform their economies from oil-based into knowledge-based. One example from the region I will cite here is United Arab Emirates. United Arab Emirates is the leading in the whole region in terms of transforming their economy from oil to knowledge, but across the whole world, it's also one of the leading countries in terms of trying to really diversify their economy. Saudi Arabia is following, Kuwait is following, and other countries as well. I have seen this in all Arab countries. Now, talking about higher education, in the last 7 or 6 years, many scholars, if you like, literature in books, international organizations like World Bank, IMF, all of them have agreed on one principle, which is that the wealth of nation and the development of nation is becoming now seriously measured by the quality of higher education. So if you have a very good higher education institution in your country, the likelihood that the development, the sustainable development road to sustainable development goals, the wealth of that nation is likely to be high. So the better higher education institution you have in the country, the better the country is. And there have been many arguments, conferences, debates, people argued about this for the last many, many years. Now, in these 2 days, I think we're going to discuss the future of higher education in the Middle East, with particular, if you like, focus on both COVID-19 phenomena. We have been in lockdown for the 2nd year. Now in the UK, we entered our 2nd year. I mean, officially in our country here in the UK, we've been told to be shielded until the 30th of March. So those who are vulnerable to go outside, the official line of the government is that until the 30th of March, we should be shielded. That means officially we should stay at home. We are at home now, and our schools are closed. I know in other parts of the Middle East, some schools are open, some countries are starting getting back, and so on. But regarding the higher education institution in particular, the key challenge has been during the COVID, and I think will be in the post-COVID era, is how to teach online. E-learning and online learning has been the major challenge for the region. Some countries in the Gulf, like Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, I think UAE, and I think Qatar, and also I think Kuwait, and others in Egypt, few in Tunisia, in Morocco, and others, they have been already ready to teach and deliver their learning and teaching activities online, the same like OECD's countries in Canada or in the US or in the UK and others. But unfortunately, for many other countries in the region, like Sudan, Libya, others, there is a big challenge of delivering online. Number one, because of the internet, is extremely poor, it's very difficult. And secondly, the major challenge for other countries like Sudan, Libya, and others is electricity. The supply or the availability of electricity has been the major hindering factor behind universities being able to actually access and deliver online. As far as I know, for example, we will listen to people from Sudan. There is only one university in Sudan which is delivering online, which is not a full even fledged of courses. In Libya, there is struggle. Even in Egypt, some universities are not able. There is experts from Egypt, they will talk better than me. So we will look into all this today. But the new normal, as the Pro-Vice Chancellor of Bradford University called it, the new normal is what we have been living now. So what we have been living in the last year, he said this is the new normal. Lockdown, online, like what we're doing this conference now. And if you just look back, we've been locked back in February, and we are in February now. So these are the key issues we're going to discuss today. There is lots of challenges for online learning. One of them, I'm just going to mention it quickly because we have struggled with this in the United Kingdom. The engagement and the students, if you like, expectations from the lecture, from the tutorial, from the workshop is completely different than when they were being taught face-to-face. Many of my colleagues in the UK, they say to me, Allam, I'm facing a computer. Most of the students are black. They are hiding their cameras. I don't even know if they are on the back of the screen or not. The second issue is how to get people engaged online is a very challenging issue for those who have been teaching for the last year. So there are many, many, many issues. I'm very delighted and I'm really grateful for all those who have helped us to organize this conference. I wouldn't mention all of them because it's very difficult, but everyone is listed in the conference. But to mention few, Dr. Emhamad El Mansori from Libya, he has done lots of work to try to connect with universities in Libya. We had in Sudan, we have in Bahrain, we had in Saudi Arabia, in many, many places. And I'm also delighted to see there is a large number of papers or presentations. They're going to be from the whole region, from Morocco. We got from Morocco, Saudi Arabia. We got people from Kuwait, Yemen. I'm very delighted we're going to have a presentation from Yemen because Yemen has been completely, the situation in Yemen have been very challenging. We have papers from Libya, Sudan, Qatar, and so on and so forth. The way it's going to work is for each session, we have a moderator and we have a rapporteur. And the job of the moderator is really to make sure the session is finishing on time. And the real challenge for online conferences like this, getting an interaction and engagement between a speaker online is very difficult because you have people from all over the place. They want to ask the question. If we do not all discipline ourselves, take one after one, we will not be able to have the communication running smoothly. So I kindly ask all speakers to stick to their 12 to 15 minutes or 20 minutes has been given. So try to watch yourself when you are making your presentation, because the moment the moderator is going to interrupt you to tell you there is only 2-3 minutes, that means what we will see here is an interruption. It's not like a normal face-to-face conference where we can show you a 2 minutes left or something. So please stick to your time. And secondly, my kind request to anyone who wants to ask a question within the Zoom is to kindly make it as short and simple, please. And also try to avoid comments because the time and there's so many people really want to ask questions, and we need to give 5 to 10 minutes maximum for each session. And number 3, I will also ask kindly all the speakers, the presenters, if they can make their answer as short as possible and directly to the questions. And if there is anything more, I can assure you all these videos, we are live now, but we will make sure all of them are staying, they're going to be available in our YouTube channels. And finally, all those who have submitted their articles, or they can catch up with us soon and send us the papers, we will publish it in a conference proceeding. And we also have a journal, which is the International Journal of Innovation and Knowledge Management in the Middle East and North Africa. We will also publish some articles in that journal. So without further ado, I think I have exceeded my 10 minutes or less than 10 minutes. I'm going to hand over, that's all my introduction. But just before I go, I would like to also mention, we have 6 or 7 keynote speakers. They're going to join us today and tomorrow. In addition to the country-specific case studies we're going to listen to from Bahrain, Morocco, Saudi Arabia, whatever it is, there will be quite conceptual and lots of international lessons learned we're going to listen to. So for example, today at 1:30 London time, we are very grateful, and I think I really have to mention Dr. Muhammad Hassan from the University of Southampton. He has done a tremendous work in terms of connecting lots of people, including his Vice Chancellor. So the Vice Chancellor of the University of Southampton is going to talk to us at 1:30. But most importantly, the university has done remarkable work in the UK, and he's going to talk to us about the sustainability, if you like, strategy of this university. If we go to the 3:30 today, we're going also to have a keynote talk from South Carolina. The person who is going to deliver that, he's a professor of histology from the medical school. But the most important thing, he was voted last year as the best professor in the entire United States medical schools. So it is really a pleasure to listen to someone knows the quality of teaching and learning. This person is going to talk to us, Professor Muhammad Khalil, at 3:30. Tomorrow, we will also have another couple of keynote speakers, including the Minister of Higher Education from Sudan, Professor Intisar Saghairun. She's an archaeologist, and she used to be the head of department at the University of Khartoum. We will also have the provost of the American University of Cairo, and we have tremendous speakers tomorrow. In addition, I would like also to mention all the moderators and the rapporteurs. They also have tremendous experience they're going to share with us. So it's not just really the presenters. The moderator, they have plenty of experience to share with us, such as Professor Doaa, who is going to start now, Professor Farida, Professor Ron McQuaid, and Al Mansori. We also have a contribution with Dr. Amir from Iraq. I'm really pleased to have all of them. So there is lots of sharing. I'm glad now I have seen Professor Ali Habour. So I think we all set up to start. So that's me. I will stop here, and I will be at the back end to help with any technical problem. I would like to introduce to you the chair of this first session, or the moderator of this session. Her name is Professor Doaa Salman, and she is the head of economics and the vice dean at the October University of Modern and Applied Sciences. She can maybe add more about this university in Egypt. I'm very grateful for her time. And she will be joined by Dr. Emhamad El Mansori, associate professor from Libya. And I think it's a great session. So we're going to see Libya, Egypt, Bahrain, who else? Sudan and Morocco. So I think this is a good start. I will stop here. I will hand over to Professor Doaa Salman. I think you can now take over, Professor. I think you are unmuted. Am I right?
You are correct.
Excellent. So now it's over to you.
Thank you so much, Professor Allam, and welcome on board all of the elite people, and thank you for the invitation for joining this successful and visionary conference, Higher Education in MENA region for Sustainable Development, which is the challenge in the coming era in the future. As according to the COVID-19, we are going to face a huge humanitarian crisis. It's not only a matter of oil crisis, it is a humanitarian crisis. And I would like to thank you also as well for the speakers, because you make a multidisciplinary speaker in each session, and this is attract my attention. There's not only one specialty. You bring people from, such as Professor Ali, and from medical background, Professor Aicha. She has a huge multinational and international background, and whenever I read her biography, I find that she knows everything. She knows in planet, she knows in women, she knows in many things. So yeah, I got shocked by the experience that you have So it is a pleasure to make a blend between management and health, and as well Professor Esra Dhaen. She have a management and strategic visionary in education. This is attract also as my attention. Professor Emhamad El Mansori, I'm so happy to meet you. You are very humble for writing just your educational, but I believe that you have a huge experience, because I know the Libyan people are so humble and to the ground, because you have a huge background and your certificate, it is outstanding, and you work with multinational corporation, you work with SMEs, you work with central bank. So it is a pleasure to meet all of you. It's a pleasure for me. The topic is interesting, higher education, and I was working before a non-academic, and I changed my career to academic because I find this is the investment and the saving that we will leave when we go to the other life, because education, it is our investment. I believe also that the Arab region and all the Arab people and the Arab scientists were the reasons for the existence of education and innovation, but we are lagged in time. In the time of digital divide that we are having and digital gap that we are facing, it is a very big challenge that we have an alarm according to the COVID-19 that we need to recap our education and our contribution. I wish, according to the Professor Allam that he started with, we are not going to consume only education. We are not going to only engage students for education in order to market for education. I wish that we will be able to provide education as we used to be. We are going to create products, we create the technology, we are not going to be consuming technology. I'm quite happy with the experience, as Professor Allam mentioned, according to the United Arab Emirates. United Arab Emirates, they make a very successful story for diversification, their structural economy. So they have an edge and they have a stable, sustainable development. The topic of the conference is very interesting because we're looking for sustainable development, which I'm afraid if we can achieve it, because the 17 goals that they are having as a target, it is very challenging. I wish we're not going to face the same destiny for the Millennium Development Goal, as all of us knows quite well. So the Millennium Development Goals, they replace it with the sustainable. I wish sustainability, according to the COVID-19, it is a very challenging one. So I wish that we are going to start the speaker's introduction, and we can learn and we can put a guideline and we can put a vision for the future generation. Maybe we can help them in order to gain, because COVID-19 reflected negatively according to the students. It's not positively, unfortunately. They fade up, they don't want to learn, they are not interesting anymore. So as you said before, I make my picture on the Zoom and the instructor do whatsoever he did, and I can listen later. So the approach of engagement has been changed. In Egypt, we adopt a lot of technological approach. Yes, I'm working from a private university, and I work also in governmental university, but also the students fade up from education. They need to go back to their life. They need to have something to be touched. So I wish we can have a good experience, and we have a strategy in the future. We can apply a better engagement, a better product for the future. And I will start by introducing Professor Emhamad El Mansori. He is a professor at Al-Mukhtar University from Libya. And I would like to introduce him first, if he would like to share his own vision before we start with each one of the speakers, Professor Aicha, Professor Esra, and then Professor Ali. Professor Emhamad.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You hear me? Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to be a rapporteur in this session at the conference of the future of higher education in North Africa and Middle East. I also thank Prof. Allam, who gave me this opportunity, as well as for giving me the opportunity as a representative of the World Association Sustainable Development in MENA region. Actually, I tried to communicate with some universities in Libya for an active participations for Libya, but as Professor Allam pointed out, there are many obstacles such as poor internet or electricity problems and others. Thank you for all. And as you know, the aim of this conference is to discuss the impact of COVID-19 pandemic lockdown on the future role of higher education in the Middle East and North Africa. So thank you, Chairman, and thank you, my colleague, Prof. Doaa. I'm happy to know you in this conference, and I take the lead, and you can start now with the section.
Thank you so much. So I can start with Professor Dr. Aicha Bammoun. She have a very outstanding career in the life science and a considerable part on her professional in the national and international organization. She have been working in a lot of NGOs. She's trying to help a lot of beneficiary groups. She is interested in technology, science, innovation, women STI, emergency technology, capacity building, science, and I would like to give you 15 minutes to present your speech for higher education and its challenges in the Middle East and North Africa. So some key strategy that we can guideline us to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal. Welcome, Dr. Aicha Bammoun.
Thank you so much. Good morning. I'm very, very pleased to be a part of this very eminent speakers and audience, to give my contribution, my modest contribution on this topic of higher education within the pandemic, within this crisis, international crisis caused by the COVID-19. So my talk will be more about giving some key strategies to on how to achieve SDGs, especially when we are speaking of education, higher education. And for sure, so my outline, okay. I will give you just small things about education, where we are engaged, science, technology, higher education, quality assurance in MENA region, some key strategies to achieve SDGs for our community, and how to measure quality, responsibility, and performance, and at the last, some recommendations. As you know, all of you, that SDGs without education and higher education, science, innovation, technology, we cannot achieve any of these 17 goals, because education and higher education are linked to all of these 17 SDGs. About the education in MENA region, or more or less in developing countries, we know that education and training play an important role in the development of any country. And the education sector has to prepare the relevant workforce, contributing to the development of the nations. But at the same time, different challenges of establishing scientific and progressive society that is based on innovation and the consumer of technology, but also the contributing to the product to produce technological outputs and to contribute in technological civilization for the future. Therefore, there is a need of proper planning and implementation of education training at all levels, especially when MENA region aspire to become developed countries based on knowledge-based economy and knowledge-based society. Okay, that's that. In MENA educational system, which is based on development of individual into a sound and effective citizen, and we are more targeted on full integration of the individual into its community. When we speak about I know I start, and higher education means the postgraduate and others sector. There are a big versatility in theory and lack in practical orientation when we are speaking about higher education. There are in our region lack of innovation and motivation, lack of entrepreneurial skills. Graduated are produced in older discipline at the expense of emerging discipline. And as you know, with this COVID-19, we all learn that digital technology is a key issue that we have to apply in different level, especially when we are speaking of higher education and knowledge transfer to the consumers and users. And we have to engage to address this issue. We have to put in place the strengthening between university industry interaction program, the establishment of student industrial work experience, and to participate in industrial training. And for the policy on science and technology and higher education sector, to have and to update our agenda in MENA region, we have to make the impact of science and technology education to meet growing needs of the economy and to consolidate development of nation's system of higher education in response to economic manpower needs. This is in general, not only on this pandemic situation, but it's in general. Going to this different strategic waves of the higher education, I can just give some of them, nine aspects, mainly on widening access and enhancing equity, improving the quality of teaching and learning, by using the new technologies, digital technology and e-learning, especially when we are speaking about this pandemic. But not only higher education, we have also to enhance research and innovation, strengthening institutions of higher education by using even this virtual reality and these different tools, give this knowledge and to the high quality of learning and using this new technology and producing also the new technology, to intensify the internationalization, to have big cooperation even within MENA region countries, but also outside, south, north-south cooperation and so on. And enculturation of lifelong learning is also very important to try to enhance the quality and the knowledge for a different age, a different target stakeholders, and to reinforce the higher education delivery system at national level and with the decision-making and policymakers to reinforce the system and to update their strategies and the policies. For the equity, it's very important to increase the percentage in higher education, to enhance the percentage of the workforce with higher education, human capital development fund for higher education. We have to develop this capital development fund and to have the scholarship and special scholarship for eminent and for the elite of the student and the researcher. The quality of teaching and learning, how to measure the quality. The quality of learning and teaching has to be reviewed in our region, because the quality of how to deliver is really very important because of the different digital divide and with other region. So the national policy on student training and staff attachment with the industry is one of the more important point that we have to develop. The periodical curriculum review, we have to review and to inject some new tools in our curricula with interactive teaching and using of English language, because English language, even It's the language of the science, and not only English now, there are other like Chinese and other aspect and other target language to what I can say, to bring this technology in our region. The employability of the graduate student also, it's one of the important point, and we try to increase the number of PhD or equivalent of this title for our student and our knowledge community. The research and innovation, we have to enhance the research and innovation by increasing the number of research universities, the number of internationally recognized centers of excellence, innovation culture among students, enhance the percentage of commercialization of our research products to make the mapping of the use and to mapping of the needs of the country in industry or in and consumers, and to translate this as a project in the university's research project that could be taken by our students and our universities and faculty. The strengthening our institution of higher education, it's very important to increase the number of public university and at the same time private university, even to have the autonomy according to the key performance indicators, to increase the number of lecturers with PhD, and to take in consideration the university rating according to KPIs. To intensify the internationalization of our university in MENA region, it's very important to strengthen the networking with international universities. This is a cooperation between within and between and outside MENA. Average of international student enrollment in competitive programs, the average of international faculty members in research university, and student mobility is also one of the key successful tools to enhance our capability in higher education. Lifelong learning, as I said previously, is to recognize the lifelong learning is one of policy makers has to take this as a key area to develop more, to recognize the past learning and experience of the people, how to use this in vocational training, or to give them some, to give them more contribution in, and to also to reduce the problem of the employability of this kind of target group, it increase in adult mature students, and to have the alternative paths of education program mobility. The last point is you're forcing the higher education ministerial's delivery system. This is at policy at the top level. To take the ministries as facilitators, the effective implementation and monitoring performance based on KPI, prudent spending, and selection of public top management based on merit. If we want to have this quality measure, responsibility, and performance, we have what we are injecting as input. This is the three pillars: the input, the process, and the output. The output, which is really our, what I can say, our objectives, is to have more employability, to reduce the problem of people who are that they cannot find the job. This is very important. To have the graduate satisfaction and employee satisfaction with our teachers and others, is to design, to review, to update our curricula, our pedagogy and delivery by injecting putting what I can say, the different technologies, especially emerging technology. And in our case, this emerging technology, which is digital technology, to use in higher education and even in education with this digital and this virtual technology applied to education, higher education. The monitoring and is also one of the process to take in consideration. And at the beginning, the input is we have to be ensuring the talent, the faculty, student resources, physical, non-physical, and financial, which is also one of our challenge, the financing problem, and the governance also. This is the same, the marketability, student satisfaction, and employee satisfaction. These three outputs that could be achieved if we are designing a very, what I guess, targeted tools. My recommendations, not only for this pandemic crisis, but in general, and then we can see what we can do to debate this during with this conference. First, we have to establish, and we already have the establishment of Technology Innovation Fund, but we have to enhance this fund by establishing this technology innovation in our higher education and universities and faculties. To establish also the intellectual property offices in university, to have the committee at university on commercialization of research results in higher institutions, establishment of also the incubation center of centers in university, science parks, to even to change, even to reverse and to put this university as not only for knowledge, but also to products. We have some products from our scientific community, and which is student and their academia, and to consolidate the development of nation system of higher education in response to economic manpower needs. So this is what I can give as some ideas to be discussed deeply. But the conference is more to review our policy, our manners, how to face this pandemic. The pandemic is for sure to apply the virtual universities, the different tools that are developed by digital technology in the sector of education and higher education. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Aicha, for managing the time, and this is visionary, clear points and strategy that you outlined at the end. I have a lot of things to discuss it with you, but I believe we can listen to all the speakers, and then we can take a time for the discussion. And I really enjoy the points that you wrap it up in a very precise, because I wish we can, what we advise they implement, what we guideline them to be implemented. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to welcome Dr. Esra Saleh El Dhaen. She is an executive director of the Center of Accreditation of Quality Assurance. She is an assistant professor for the College of Business and Finance Management and Marketing Department. As well, she have a focus on the strategic decisions and the quality in the context of higher education. I'm waiting for your presentation, Dr. Esra, and we will discuss at the end so much. And you're presenting Al-Ahlia
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Doaa, for such
have 15 minutes, and then we'll. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Doaa, for the warm welcome, and thank you for having me today. Actually, I was really enjoying the presentation of my colleague, Professor Aicha. It was such an insightful presentation indeed, and we do have such a common understanding and practices. So please forgive me if I'm repeating some of the practices, but it just explains and validates our practices with each other. Today, I'll be presenting to you our university's future strategies in Kingdom of Bahrain, and however, it is restricted to our Ahlia University practices related to United Nations Sustainable Development Goals Initiative. I'll share with you our humble experience at Ahlia University. For those who are not very much aware of Ahlia University is the first private institution in Kingdom of Bahrain. It was established in 2001. In March next month, we are celebrating our 20 years experience and 20 years of successful experience and graduating a huge number of graduates in Kingdom of Bahrain. We are very pleased to be affiliated with multiple universities from UK, US, Brunel University, London, the George Washington University, as well as a number of universities in France. Today, I'll be explaining to you about our pillars, drivers to our university strategic plan. We have recently revised our strategic plan for 2021 to 2025. The main pillars of our revision was the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, of course. The second pillar was our national strategies at the Kingdom of Bahrain, which is by default aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which is the National Strategy 2030. And we also include our main pillar, which is quality assurance standard, in line with our my colleague Professor Aicha have raised her emphasis on the quality of education, and also accreditation frameworks, which is international accreditation as well as national accreditation regulatory body. Our pillars and our strategy does not work without our effective leadership, our systemic monitoring and evaluation, which is quality systemic monitoring, as well as we do have annual reporting, even though it's voluntary. However, we do believe that transparency is very important, and therefore we do have annual reporting to United Nations, as well as to Times Higher Education Impact Ranking, and we are pleased to be reporting that for the past 2 years, since 2019, which is the inaugural impact ranking reporting. Sorry, I'm having such. Okay. Now, sorry. Our strategic initiative and sustainability alignment was integrated within our core function of the university strategies, which is related to research and intellectual contribution, teaching, learning, and support to our learners, community and societal engagement, and of course, the most core function, which is the governance and financial support. We have focused on the Sustainable Development Goals. We have prioritized it in order to make sure that we are committed to it and we are really contributing with a certain impact. We have focused on 7 sustainable development goals for now, which is good health and well-being, quality of education, gender equality, which we believe in so much, decent work and economic growth, 9, which is industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduce inequalities, and of course the relationship with all the goals, which is partnership for all the goals, which is 17. How do we do it? We do it very thoroughly, and we do believe in partnership. We do have an internal and external processes. Our internal process, we ensure that there is a university standing committee with assigned champions for each sustainable development goal. We do have a strategic alignment with all our goals with clearly defined KPIs. We do have a detailed plan, which is systematically be monitored and measured, as well as we do have the annual reporting, as stated earlier. In terms of our implementation strategy, we do conduct various community-based activities that they are developed to support the community and to create an impact, and also to create awareness at our community at local and regional levels. We also have developed a very strong relationship and partnership with different entities like West, and also we have been listed as the first private institution in Kingdom of Bahrain on the Higher Education Initiative on the United Nations listed universities on their website. So we do have, we are really strong about our commitment. We do believe in it, and we do believe in sharing it with others, and as well as in partnering with others in order to create an impact. So we do invest in different conferences. We have hosted conferences with our partnering institutions, and these conferences, they are focused on these SDGs, as well as in publishing proceedings to support these SDGs itself. We have revised our curriculum to include certain sustainable development goals, as well as to maintain the quality of education. What we did so far, this is a sample of certain SDGs. We have planned our activities in a way to include certain initiatives to cover up certain metrics of the SDGs. For example, in terms of SDG 3, we do ensure that our students, and now we have revised the term of students to make it learners, because we do believe that our students, they will be lifelong learners. So we did change our metric from student to learners activities, that we are maintaining different university-wide activities, even though some of them are now virtual activities, to maintain students' well-being and also maintain students' mental health during COVID-19. We are also promoting outreach campaigns that attracts national and international levels, such as Together Safe. That was one of our active campaigns that it was really recognized by King Hamad for this such a very genuine campaign that brought together everyone from different parts of the region to create peace and justice across the different nations. We do have different local, regional, and international collaboration with different societies to promote good health and well-being, as well as we do have different research that has been funded by Ahlia University to cover good health and well-being. Of course, we do have free access to healthcare services through our clinic, which is on campus, as well as we do have different first aiders that they contribute in different activities at national level. We have maintained effective counseling system during COVID-19, and we do support our special needs students through partial scholarship and full scholarship for different needs. Right. Quality of education is one of our core function. Quality of education, we do assure that as part of our plan that we maintain sustainable quality education and lifelong learning. It's very important that we maintain quality of education not only by ticking box and exercise of quality. We do measure the delivery of the quality that's been delivered. And as Professor Aicha highlighted earlier, that quality of education, it's not only what we achieve and accomplish. We do have to maintain quality of education, and in this part of the region, lifelong learning and promoting lifelong learning has been one of our core functions, because our regulatory authority does not allow recognition of lifelong learning. However, we have created some sort of a baseline of what could be lifelong learning and how we are promoting it. We have been taking part of creating some sort of lifelong learning by promoting it through being part of government level communities to promote lifelong learning by setting certain minimal standards that at least it will create a better understanding of lifelong learning, and that will definitely allow at least online learning for now and recognition of online learning. We do have systematic quality assurance mechanisms that we maintain a regular review and periodic review of our quality of education. And also we have created an online quality assurance processes to measure the online teaching and learning through COVID-19 and as well as the assessment itself. We did face challenges at the beginning with the online assessment. However, we have set different quality assurance mechanisms for online assessment, as well as we have revised our programs to ensure lifelong learning skills to support knowledge-based economy and to support lifelong learning. I must also emphasize that our quality education SDG 4 was ranked #1 in Bahrain by Times Higher Education. So we are very pleased for this successful achievement. In terms of industry and innovation and collaboration, we do emphasize on collaborating with industry. Collaborating with industry is very important to us. So we have now attracted research consultancy with collaborating with industry. We are seeking commercialization of research with industry by our faculty, and we are attracting and activating agreement with industry for maintaining research that it will support the industry and vice versa. So we are learning from the industry of what are those employability skills and market skills that we need to integrate in our program. And also we are providing them with research that could be applied for policy making and so on. So relationship with industry is very important. We have our students, they have been awarded by His Highness King Sheikh Khalid bin Hamad for the Artificial Intelligence Award. So they have been awarded the first award for their project, which was about artificial intelligence and the use of artificial intelligence in policymaking. So we have been working with the industry collaboratively, and all our students, they go for an internship, which is in the industry, and it is compulsory. And as an outcome of the internship, they do create some sort of industrial-based project that serves the industry in their policy making and also in the productivity of their operation. Reduced inequality. Ahlia University believed from day one in supporting students with a special need. They have supported students with special needs with full scholarship. We have believed in it from our initial startup. So we do have supported students with special needs with full scholarship. Currently, we have produced 40 graduates that they are special need. They have been blended with the society. We are very pleased with our graduates and also our students. We also supported our admission policy. They were revised to support diversity, equality, and attracting people from different religions in the world. Our leveraging partnership with different societies and different universities have enabled us to attract different nationalities from all around the world. We have attracted 113 international students so far. So we are very pleased from our achievement. And this is our humble experience with you so far with handling the SDGs. We have also I must emphasize on equal opportunity, which is SDG 5. We have been successfully implementing and conducting Equal Opportunity Conference. We have implemented this conference in collaboration with Brunel University London for 4 years so far, and we have been creating an impact with this conference by a number of publications that has been serving the policy making and Supreme Council of Women. So we are very pleased of our humble commitment to our SDGs, and we believe that higher education is the driver of a change. It facilitates social, environmental, and economic development. So as an ending remark, let's collaborate together. We do have similar practices, and we believe that we can serve the community together with our partnership. So thank you very much, and I hope that I haven't taken my time. Thank you.
Yes, brilliant. You managed your time in a brilliant way. And at the ending of your presentation, yes, we can make a lot of collaboration because we have the same vision. And this is very interesting. I see a lot of questions, but I will keep the question till the end, please, because they are very insightful and they are very important. But I would like to welcome Professor Ali Habour. He is with us, I think so. And it is a pleasure to introduce you. You are the Dean of the Faculty of Medicine. So you are making the cycle close by providing us with the insight concerning the problem that Sudan is facing to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. As well, you are focusing on the medicine part, and you are the counselor for the Sub-Saharan Medical School Study of Organization in George Washington University for 5 years. You're expert in the medical education, tropical, biological, and child nutrition. You have a lot of publication. It is a pleasure to introduce you, Professor. So you are having 15 minutes, and then we can answer all the question that is shown up in the discussion. Thank you so much. You can talk now, Professor Ali. I think it is your.
Thank you very much
yes.
for inviting me to talk in this important conference. I'm just having a little bit of a problem. I'm going to talk about the challenges facing Sudan to implement the SDG goal number 4. I did a lot of reading, and I found that the MDG 4 number 4 is concerned with education, whether primary education and the later part is secondary education. And being a staff member in the University of Jazeera for the last 30 years, I was really involved in higher education in the University of Jazeera. And I would like to just go around to show you what problems are we facing, and are we going to meet the objectives of SDG 4 or not. And this problem is not only for Jazeera University, and probably it will be applied to all the Institute of Higher Education in Sudan. SDG 4, Sustainable Development, can be defined as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. This is as stated by the United Nations. In September 2015, the General Assembly adopted the 2030. Of course, the MDG Millennium Development Goal did not achieve the objectives, and they set another agenda. There are 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Building on the principles of leaving no one behind, and the agenda emphasizes a holistic approach to achieve sustainable development for all. Sustainable development number 4, as I said, is educational, and I'm going to talk about the higher education. It aims to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. The goals are meant to be global, but it is left to different countries to adapt the goals to their national policies and planning without drifting away from achieving the objectives of the goal. Countries are of course, they are faced with challenges like our countries in the sub-Saharan region, and these are global problems, include poverty, climate changes, unemployment, and conflicts. And our area as you know, witnessed a lot of conflicts, which I hope that it will finish soon. This is the Sudan. As you can see, Sudan is the bridge between Africa and the Arab world. The population of Sudan is around 40 million. It constitutes a mixture of Afro-Arab culture, and it is divided into 18 states. And there are not less than 150 tribes in Sudan. However, the common language is Arabic. As you can see, different colors, different shapes, different races. This is Sudan in Africa. It is the middle of Africa. The higher education started in Sudan in 1916 with the establishment of Gordon College during the colonial years. The main objective was to graduate Sudanese citizens to be employed as civil servants. In 1924, Kitchener Memorial School of Medicine was established. 7 Sudanese were enrolled and graduated as medical doctors in 1928. And this is the University of Khartoum. In 1956, the University of Khartoum was inaugurated. And in 75, the University of Jazeera and Juba universities were established. In 1990, we witnessed the expansion of higher education. There are now in Sudan 107 governmental and private universities and colleges. The number of students enrolled in this institute is not less than 500,000. The majority in Khartoum, the capital, so the distribution is really not just. The number of students who sit for Sudan certificate each year is around 500,000. Those who are enrolled in higher education is around 150,000. It is a free competition and equal opportunity for boys and girls. What are the objectives? The main objectives of SDG 4 in the field of higher education is that all girls and boys have equal access to quality higher education, eliminate gender disparities and ensure equal access to vulnerable groups, increase the number of youth who have relevant skill for employment in the future. The means of implementation put by the United Nations is to build effective and safe learning environment, ensure adequate number of staff, adequate physical infrastructure, staff legislation to ensure equal opportunities, professional development for teachers, continuous review of the curricula, ensure good learning outcome, establish quality assurance administration, funding, monitoring, and intersectoral coordination. There are many. Implementing of the SDG goal at country level implies an effort to align, adapt national policies and planning to global targets. The degree of alignment depends on the country policy. So it's freedom of movement. There are equal opportunities for girls and boys in Sudan to be enrolled in higher education. This depends on their achievement in the individual in the Sudan certificate. The number of girls in some colleges exceeds the number of boys. As you can see, this is the Faculty of Dentistry in Jazeera University. Very few boys, more than 75% are girls. This is more obvious in dental and medical school. In the medical school, 75% of the students are girls. 50% of the seats are allocated to the state that hosts the university. As you know, Sudan has got 18 states, and the universities are established in each state. 50% of these seats in the university hosted by the state is allocated to the student from state. 25% of the seats are allocated to private intake. We introduced private intake in Sudan to help in the expense of the teaching process. The competition for private intake is within 10% of the admission score. All students have the chance to be accommodated in student hostel with minimal fees, but this is always not enough for the student. Students can apply for bank loans to pay for their fees. However, those who apply each year does not exceed 2%. This is applied, is not applied to private intake, but it's applied to general intake. Students from poor families can apply for financial support from student deanship administration, but the process is not easy. Establishment of a university in each state without availing the logistics, this was always a political decision rather than an educational decision. Private intake is meant to meet the expenses of the educational process and retention of staff. Juba Peace Treaty, which was signed lately, states that 15% of the seats in higher education in Sudan are allocated to Darfur students for the coming 10 years. As you know that there was a war which is going on for more than 15 years in Darfur, and there is a big gap between Darfur and other states. So this peace treaty lights some hope for Darfur students. Private higher education is well recognized in the Ministry of Higher Education and Research. Following December revolution, the fund for higher education and research jumped from 2% to 12%, which might improve the quality of education and learning outcome. Why Sudan stands far from achieving the objectives of SDG 4? Up until now, we are far, but I hope in the coming year, we may be able to do something. Number one, the expansion of higher education was political decision rather than educational decision. There is poor and maldistribution of the institute. More than 60% of the higher institute education in Khartoum. The infrastructure were very poor. In fact, most of the new universities were located in buildings of secondary schools. The environment is not safe for learning. Not only that, but in some universities, the power is off for more than 18 hours. Student-teacher ratio is far from international standard, 1 in 150 in some faculties. And you know that the international standard is 1 to 15. The fund received for the teaching process does not exceed 10% of the approved, and less than this is allocated for development of infrastructure. The professional development is very deficient and it is local. Because of the sanction, which took 25 years, the universities and the staff were deprived from access to global technology, research funds, loading down of information and scientific journals. Although there is administration of quality assurance and accreditation in the Ministry of Higher Education, it failed to evaluate the policy of expansion of higher education in Sudan. Only 2 schools have been accredited, the School of Medicine, the University of Khartoum, and the Jazeera School of Medicine were accredited by the World Federation of Medical Education. The rest of the Institute of Higher Education were not accredited. Lack of recreation facilities for the students, lack of health care for the students, lack of transport for staff and students. Brain drain remained one of the factors that threaten the quality of higher education in Sudan. This is due to poor wages, lack of accommodation, health insurance, education for their children. There is a gap between the number of social sciences graduate and applied science. In 2017, the ratio is 4:1. Difficulty in applying the e-learning due to lack of electrical power and poor internet networks. Before I leave, I would like to give some few minutes about the University of Jazeera. This is the University of Jazeera. It's the first university to be established outside Khartoum with vision and mission which state clearly community orientation and rural development. It is the first university to have written curricula and regular review of these curricula in all faculties every 5 years. We have a strong partnership with different sectors of the community, health, agriculture, industry, and rural development. Although the headquarters of Jazeera University in Madani, which is the capital of Jazeera, however, the faculties were established in different localities. This was the first experience in Sudan. And thank you very much. I'm sure we are facing a huge problem in the field of higher education. And we hope that following this great revolution and allocating 12% of the funds for the higher education will improve the higher education process in Sudan. And thank you very much for giving me this chance. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ali, for telling us the facts on ground and reflecting on what the current challenges on real ground concerning the Sustainable Development Goals. So I have a lot of questions. I will start according to the first question to Dr. Aicha. You are with us, my dear? You have a question from Professor Joseph. He is asking you, are with us? You are with us,
Yes.
Doctor?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I'm here.
Yeah, my dear. He is thanking you for the presentation, and he was asking you a very precise question. With the word
Yes.
focusing on immediate public health, economic and social welfare responses and education is at a considerable risk of being overshadowed, despite the role of powerful and effective driver for achieving SDGs. So how do we deal with the risk facing higher education, my dear?
Yeah, it's a good question, you know.
Very complicated, multi-question.
Very complicated because their health issue
It's a
involved in this.
multidisciplinary. It's taking all the pillars all over together. So he is.
Yeah. With
yes.
the word focusing on immediate public health, economic and social welfare responses, and education is at a considerable risk of being overshadowed its role as powerful and effective driver of achieving an economic recovery in the short term. In the long term, how would you deal with the risk facing?
A multi-dimensional question.
Yeah.
Multi-dimensional.
Yeah. Can Professor Ali stop the sharing so the screen will be full?
If we can put the logo of the conference at the background, it would be okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If you can share the logo of the conference.
I think Professor Habour is still sharing his screen. Yeah, better now.
Okay. Yes.
Honestly, Dr. Joseph, your question is really very complicated one, to be honest. How we deal with the risks facing higher education today? It's really a challenge. The challenge is really very important for higher education sector. So, from my point of view, how we can face the challenge and how we can try to go ahead to adapt ourselves with this new pandemic and new reality that we are living is to apply for the virtual, what I can say, inline, online courses, the virtual classroom, and to try to catch what they are losing, our students, our universities. So I hear just last few months that there are some tools developed by some company, some industrial company on digital technology, on digital things for the virtual reality with the 3D and this all artificial intelligence. We might use these tools for sure to at least to help and to help our scientific and academia community to do their job, to do their work, to do their task. This is my response. I don't know if it's okay for you, or if you want to have more, or you can explain to me exactly if it's enough or not. But I know, and even the question is for everyone, I think, in the panel, not only for me.
I think he's delivered the second question for Dr. Esra, because he said that you can make a matrices between Dr. Esra and Dr. Aicha in the coming question, and he is asking the quality, delivery, and assessment. Dr. Esra with us, what are some matrices you use to measure the quality? So this is my same question. I'm waiting for this matrices for the success story that you are delivering for in your university. So, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor. Honestly, with regard to quality of delivery and assessment, it was really critical. I must admit that we have been blessed by also our regulatory standards, that they have set certain standards for us to adhere to. But however, in terms of quality of delivery first, what we did is we have created some sort of a guideline to support our faculty to make sure that their delivery is up to the standards. So first of all, we maintain all our delivery through our timetabling. We did not allow any outside hours of delivery. In terms of the content, we have switched to smart books that help our students to obtain the content which is supported by virtual delivery. And the assessment was directly aligned to the smart books itself. So we have relied on smart books. We have maintained faculty development throughout the period. So we had different strategies immediately. So our faculty, they were developed for online delivery, number one. Number two, we had a quality assurance mechanism. So we had like random selection on the delivery of the taught courses. Number three, we have switched from normal textbooks to smart books that they had aligned assessment to it. However, in terms of the assessment, we have different issues there. The first issue, we had develop some sort of a metrics to help our faculty to select the most appropriate assessment method that it's, let's say, virtual friendly. So because there was a difficulty, for example, with regard to final examination. Final examination, we are all used to 2 hours examination, which is a written examination. So we had developed some sort of a rubric to our faculty to switch from final examination to something else, like, for example, open book examination. But the challenge was, for example, that faculty did not really know how to use, for example, a final examination that is an open case, that to avoid, for example, cheating or plagiarism in there. So we had different mechanisms, like, for example, submission through online platform like Accreditation to check on the similarity. And also we have relied on examination tools like Procure and other tools that really frozen the screens during the examination period to avoid any cheating. So this was our mechanisms that helped us really to improve and to have somehow not mature but premature with the assessment mechanisms at this stage. I hope this is helpful.
Thank you so much. I think also you can you answered another question that has been directly for you concerning the final examination, because how can pandemic affect long-term assessment for the strategy of the students? Because if you know that students, if you know anyone, you can send them the case study within the 24 hours. And maybe I will ask Esra, can you help me in this assessment of the case study within the timeline? So it's happened. I have friends across the globe. Doaa, can you guide? So it is a very challenging time because everything is open and everything is accessible recently. And to test the plagiarism or the person who is delivering, I think we can make a presentation, virtual presentation. And I believe we have similarities across different practices, because what you did or in university, this is already applied in UK. They are providing cases through the Moodle, and they are using Turnitin to assess it. But I think as well, but they can help have an extra assessment from other people. But however, we can reassess them by presentation or by discussion. We're making different matrices for the quality of the work that they are providing. So the matrices, I think we can collaborate to look for a new matrices to look for a better output from the students. There's another question, how you focus on sustainable development only in higher education? Is it part of the employment market? Do you mean that you design the education for the job market? And this is a question that has been directed for all the speakers. So who is willing to answer?
Maybe Professor Ali can answer.
Professor Ali, I can repeat the question here. That we are all focusing about the education, how you are looking for the employability, you are looking for the jobs, or just employability? Do you mean that you design the education for the job market only, or there is another criteria? Dr. Hafiz Khan, he is asking this question.
Well, the higher education is meant to increase the skill of youth. When they are graduated, they can have some sort of living. But it's also meant to, if you lead the country, the development in the country, you need the graduates who are very skillful in different type of science, whether it's health, industry, economy. You cannot build a country without graduate of higher education or postgraduate later on. We need also postgraduate studies to train the student to be a useful citizen in the future. Yes, it is meant to be for employment and meeting the market's needs, but it's also satisfying the need of the student himself. You know, after you graduate, you will have the chance to you have self-employment, or you join the market or different establishment in the country. But higher education is meant to graduate skillful citizens who will be useful in the future to lead the development. You cannot have development without higher education. Primary education, yes, is compulsory. I concentrated mainly on the second part of SDG goal. You know, SDG goal is divided into two parts: the primary, secondary, for secondary education, up to secondary education, and the second part is dealt with higher education. I concentrated on higher education, and I took Sudan as a case study, which can be applied to different parts of developing countries.
Thank you, Dr. Ali, for your question. I have no more questions. Do you have any more questions from the audience or from the floor for the speakers? Professor Joseph, Professor Farid, do you have any more questions?
Hello, good morning. I'm Farida Fortune. I just wanted to add a comment to Professor Babiker, who makes a hugely important point about we've all been storing up huge problems for ourselves in our different education systems. It doesn't matter if it's been a high-tech system or problems where I know in a lot of African countries, they felt the need to increase universities. So there's been a huge increase in universities without the infrastructure or the amount of expertise that you need for it. So we all have to produce these sort of skillful, productive citizen. I mean, that's the point of higher education. And I would like to know from Prof. Babiker or one of the other speakers, how they really think. I know everyone's going to digital education, but in Sudan, how has COVID, how has this last year affected effective learning?
It has been very unfortunate here and very difficult here in Sudan because of the COVID. We in the University of Jazeera, I know that different universities started e-learning, but it has been very difficult for the student to cope because of the lack of power. Even the University of Jazeera, we taught all the theory through the e-learning, but I know in the class which I'm teaching, maybe 25% of the students living in villages, and they couldn't cope with the e-learning. And now we are, because we just started this experience, so we are just having a very rocky road. Hopefully in the future, with the improvement of the general condition in Sudan, electrical power, internet, and lifting of the sanction, things will improve. We know what to do, but really the logistics, hinder our progress. What we need in our developing countries is technical education rather than higher skilled education. I know that there were expansion of higher education in Sudan in 1990, but this unfortunately was a political decision rather than educational decision. I know some universities in rural areas where the power is only for 4 hours, 18 hours the students are living in the dark. So COVID has added a huge problem to the problem which we face in Sudan nowadays. But I know that the government, the new government now, the new revision, increases the fund for higher education from 2% to 12%. Not only higher education but also health. And I hope by the peace treaty which has been signed in Juba lately, this will stop the war, will stop the conflict, and probably will improve things. We are facing a huge problem of brain drain. Whenever we train people, they just cross the Red Sea and go to the Gulf because the salaries there are huge compared to our salaries in Sudan. My salary does not exceed $250. So it is really very difficult to retain skilled staff, but I hope that things will improve. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Farida, for this question. Yes, I think that the COVID-19 create winner businesses and loser businesses across the globe. And I believe that as well, we have the loser countries in the same way. But I believe that COVID-19, yes, I believe that COVID-19 create winners of businesses. And we have a lot, all the technological business countries that are highly developed and have a huge infrastructure, they have a less burden during the COVID. And the countries that they are putting a lot of prioritization, they think they will reprioritize educational infrastructure, electricity, as Professor Ali mentioned. So I think all the government in the MENA region are reprioritizing things because prioritization has been changed. The infrastructure for internet technology has become the first priority in many countries recently. So maybe COVID-19 will make a new shift. Professor Dabba, he was Dabba, I think so. He was raising his hand before my internet was lagged. Do you have a question? I think so. You are mute, my dear. You can unmute yourself.
No, thank you. Thanks. I'm not saying because your sound was broken. Professor Allam also saying that your sound is not coming. So that's why I'm saying, and I gave the thanks to Professor Ali. I think it's really something that, pandemic and associated with the student exams and how is protecting and affecting. I think is a good one. That's all. I don't have any question. I'm just saying that no sound coming. That's all. Thank you.
Professor Emhamad, do you want to comment on the questions or have a question for the speakers, or want to contribute with something? I think from the speeches that we have it today, we have a very clear conclusion that Dr. Aicha has focusing on the importance of funding, and she is focusing on the type of education and commercialization and industry, and this is what we lagged usually in our educational system, and this is very insightful points, and that the jobs that we are going to provide, it must be meeting, or the students that we are providing must meet as well the job market employability. Dr. Esra also highlighted upon the most important things which we applied in Egypt, the trend of artificial intelligence and using technology and developing student skills for machine learning, because in Egypt we have a lot of initiatives with a lot of multinational cooperation. We're developing student skills concerning the AI I know it is very challenging because we know that the AI has been launched in 1956, and nowadays in the MENA region, we are trying to narrow the gap using the artificial intelligence and the machine learning and the digitalization, because we are placed and forced to look for it. I believe as well that when we change our curriculum and we are making our curriculum, it is more oriented to the market, it will be very important. As well, I am one of the things that I'm afraid from, that companies recently are hiring students according to the courses that they have it, not only to the certificate that they have it from university. Because Google, Microsoft, if you have this certificate, you can work even you are having a high school. So I believe that we need to update our curriculum systems to meet the job market from the multinational corporation or from the top technological companies as well. Professor Ali recently highlighted most important things. That is not only digitalization, but also technical things and hands-on things and vocational things. And this is reflecting on the many of the Latin American experience where they are succeeded and they increase their economic growth using vocational things. So this session was very insightful as well by having a lot of things. We have a question as well. One of the people are raising their hands and they have, someone is raising their hands?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, ready.
I think so.
Dr. Doaa.
Yes, my dear. Yes, you are unmuted finally.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you,
thank
you, Dr. Doaa, for managing this session, and thank you for all the speakers for their managing their times. The title of this session was Higher Education and Sustainable Development Goals. We already have 3 presentations. The first presentation was about the higher education and its challenges in MENA region by Dr. Aicha. Thank you, Dr. Aicha, for your presentation, and she focused on the sustainable development goal and MENA educational system. And she asked where we are engaged now, and she highlighted lack of innovation and lack of entrepreneurship skills and training received. She explained issues such as the strategic drive of the higher education and widening access and enhancing equity and the targets. She explained improving the quality and teaching and learning. She highlighted on how to measure quality, responsibility, and performance through input, process, and output. She gave some recommendations at the end of her presentation. And so the second presentation was by Dr. Esra and the university's future strategies for United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Dr. Esra spoke about the future strategies of the Ahlia University and the measure taken towards the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal. Actually, the challenges during the COVID-19 period was during the presentation. She actually focused on employability skills that is required for the future graduates and research areas that should be considered by the higher education institutions for sustainable education. The last presentation was problems facing Sudan in achieving sustainable development goal number 4, which is quality education, by Prof. Ali Habour. The aim of the presentation was to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Prof. Habour shows The case of Sudan, one of the development countries, is facing with challenges which are global, include poverty, unemployment, climate change, and conflicts. He spoke about challenges facing higher education in Sudan after 19 December revolution in planning for a new era of higher education to achieve this goal as part of sustainable development's goal. So thank you for all presenters, and thank you for my colleagues. Let me hear from Doaa and Prof. Allam.
Thank you, Professor Emhamad. And now I think we are at the end of the session. I'm grateful for all the speakers, and I'm quite happy that I'm be with you. And then Professor Allam will finalize this first session. And I wish you enjoy all the sessions because we have a very insightful, very, very insightful paper with a visionary, and it's a pleasure to be with you, Professor Allam.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Doaa. I think you and Professor Emhamad El Mansori, the moderator, and the three speakers deserve a big clap because you have finished earlier than the time, I think.
So please remember, if we all help and do a little bit, it will make a big difference.